Hi everyone, welcome to the first ever episode of the Retail Tales, a podcast show exclusively for all things AI across the retail value chain. A podcast show which is exclusively meant for retailers and retail enthusiasts. I am Saurabh Vijayvergia and I'm your host for this show. In my day job, I partner with C-suite and executive leaders of retail companies on top-line growth, customer acquisition and retention, margin optimization, and productivity improvement. And I do all this by adopting AI-first mindset for business models and operations. I have more than 17 years of experience in helping retail and consumer products companies unlock enterprise value through AI and automation. I've worked with leaders from North America, EMEA, and Asia-Pac. Honestly, I am thrilled, just absolutely thrilled to be launching this podcast today. Over the past holidays, one of my close friends and colleagues asked me for referrals for podcasts at the intersection of retail and AI. And so, like any good friend, I started hunting. But of course, I couldn't really find anything super relevant. And then that conversation led to another, and then another, and here we are. On this show, we will be talking about anything and everything relevant to AI in retail. From putting the current GenAI buzz into context, ethical, responsible, and secure application of AI to solve for retail signature issues, discuss threats and opportunities for AI in retail businesses, enterprise value and governance for AI for retailers, and many, many more of such topics. As your host, I will bring you insights from the market, perspectives from retail industry leaders, and maybe even discuss potential innovative AI ideas. Who knows, we'd get to something groundbreaking here, right? Well, whether that happens or not, hopefully through this journey, you and I together will learn a thing or two about AI in retail. So again, welcome to the journey. Welcome to the Retail Tales. While I was thinking about our discussion topic for this very first episode, I made a list of a few. But every time I went through that list in my head, I kept coming back to a question that at least I think most retail executives have on their minds today. And that question is, where do I start with generative AI? Look, with all the buzz and excitement around generative AI out there, executives keep coming back to this question. There is also this significant amount of FUD factor associated with generative AI today. By FUD factor, I mean fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD. There's so much misinformation and there's so much hype out there. So if you're a retail leader, you are thinking, oh my God, where do I even start? But trust me, you're not alone. By the way, before we continue, just as a side note, we will definitely touch upon the other relevant questions like, what's the role of different C-suite leaders on an enterprise-wide AI and generative AI journey? I mean, how and what should a CEO be thinking about and doing as compared to, let's say, a CFO or a COO or even a CIO? Questions like, how should leaders go about and unlocking and realizing the true value, the true potential of their AI efforts? Is buying better than building? Or listening to industry leaders who have used AI to solve for signature issues such as shrink or last mile delivery? Or how is AI changing the game for sustainability goals for retail organizations? Don't worry, we'll get to discuss all these topics and many more such topics in subsequent episodes. For now, let's get back to the question though. Where should retail executives start on their generative AI journey? The answer to this is simple yet complex. Simple because, like any other transformation journey, executives must start with the end in mind. What's the end objective or set of objectives? In this case, it may not be the end, but at least defining those objectives is going to be critical. Now, at this point, if you're thinking, duh, that's so obvious. Let me tell you, it's really not. I've seen and spoken with some executives who dive deep into the use cases or tech or governance or worse, operating model without really thinking about and aligning on the end goals. And on their journey, when they face challenges, they don't really have a baseline or aligned set of goals to go back to or ground themselves again. So it's really, really important to start with deciding on the kind of enterprise value an executive is trying to realize. Is it productivity improvement for everyday ways of working and tasks? Or is it cost reduction for company through better decision making, let's say in marketing or merchandising or supply chain or finance? Or is it more game changing, like improving a company's overall value proposition for its customers, improving NPS or sales conversion rate or AOV? And please, 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 don't tell me it's all of the above. Because if you're in that boat, it's probably more directionless than you can ever imagine. All that said, though, that's the easy part. Setting your eyes on an objective or a set of objectives is the simpler part. But remember, I said the answer is simple yet complex. And the complex part of the answer includes getting your arms around privacy and security, governance, ethics and trustworthiness, regulations and compliance, use cases, data, technology and platforms, vendors, among a whole slew of other topics. The good news, though, is you don't need all that at one go. Start small. Rome wasn't built in a day. You can start with one thing at a time. And the very first thing for you to do should be ensuring AI and generative AI literacy among your leaders, among your peers, and, for your associates. That will go a long way within your organization, will help with leadership alignment, will help with finalizing focus areas. It will also help with alleviating the whole FUD within the organization. All the other things can be done one step at a time. Get yourself a partner who you can trust, a partner who has tremendous amount of experience in navigating through similar challenges. It will be a game changer, I promise you. Let me share a quick story with you all. The other day, I was sitting in a meeting with the CFO of a Fortune 100 global retailer, bigwig, corner office, the whole shebang, you can imagine. We were discussing impacts of generative AI for his organization. And somewhere middle of the meeting, he gets up from his seat and looks outside the window with this worried frown on his face. He says, I get the personalization, the predictive analytics. I know generative AI can drive insights from my books and data, yada, yada, yada. But can it save me money? I smiled. I smiled because he was way too close to see the bigger picture. I smiled because he was thinking about saving pennies. The power of generative AI is not in saving pennies. It's not about that. It's about unlocking a treasure trove of gold instead. Think of it this way. Generative AI is not a cost cutter. It's a growth engine. So don't ask how generative AI can do what you already do at a lower cost. Instead, ask how generative AI can do what you can't. And that, my friends, is the game changer. Imagine giving a well-curated, personalized experience to a customer who has an extremely low switching cost. In-store through seamless clienteling, and online through personalized product discovery. Or getting even the local dialect spot on in your marketing messages. Think of launching a completely new stream of revenue, or tapping into an entirely new customer base which you didn't even know existed. So instead of asking, can it save me money? Ask yourself, how can generative AI make me money? That's the question which unlocks the true potential of this technology. It's about creating experiences so personalized, so seamless, so frictionless that your customers become your raving fans, singing your praises from the rooftop or tweeting about it with a million heart emojis. So I tell this executive all that, and he goes, all this sounds fascinating, but I think I'm going to let my competition try. And then I'd be in a good position to learn from their mistakes. What if they fail? And I'm not boasting at this point, but in a moment of pure genius, I said, what if your competition succeeds while you aren't even trying? He looked out of the window again and then suddenly gave me a high five and said, that's it. That's a perspective I can work with. I walked out of that meeting and I thought, he must not be the only one thinking like that. There are several leaders still on the sidelines, watching others try and hoping to learn from their mistakes. And honestly, I don't blame them. Given the current economy, I fully understand the amount of pressure executives are under. Big cost-cutting targets, layoffs all around, the fear of making a wrong decision. I get that. But guess what? The last thing you'd want to do is get stuck on the thought of doing something with generative AI, or worse, do nothing with it. As the old adage goes, thinking about doing something is more exhausting than doing. Anyway, I think you get the drift. Prevail or perish. Prevail trying or perish watching. The art of possible is now the art of inevitable. And that's the perspective I want to leave you all with today. On that note, it's a wrap on the first episode of the Retail Tales. Thank you for listening. Here's me, Saurabh, signing off. Join me in the next episode of the Retail Tales, a podcast where we exclusively focus on discussing AI across the retail value chain. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay curious.